Yeah, dude. And I was like, Ty, I'm just gonna run with you. And I go to open the door, and she just pulls off, and I'm like holding onto the door, and I just start sliding my car on my feet, sliding. I just jump in real quick.
Every day that I come to school, you always ask me to be out here or such.
All right, folks. We are going to take notes today. We are skipping section 3 because section 3 is something that we've talked about a lot already. The civil rights movement, Ida B. Wells, W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington. And so we're going to move on to section 4. So we're going to take notes today and a little bit tomorrow so that you can start on your assignment. I'm giving it to you today. It's not due until Wednesday. For almost all of you in here, except you seniors, Wednesday is the day you take the I-STEP. So I'm sorry, juniors. Seniors, you're not. All you juniors in here, except you few seniors that are not taking the I-STEP, I don't have a new assignment for you. So if you work the next 2 days to get this assignment finished, there's nothing new that will be due on Wednesday. So seniors, there's nothing that you guys have to do in this class for Wednesday. This assignment, though, is due on Wednesday, the 11:59. So please make sure you are working on that. So we're going to look at Teddy Roosevelt's presidency. And Teddy Roosevelt begins this idea of naming his presidency something. And he names the square deal. Back in 1900, the square deal meant like a fair deal. Being square with someone meant that you were being a straight shooter, that you were being honest, that you were being a straight shooter kind of thing. And so that's what his square deal will mean as we move through Teddy Roosevelt becoming our next president through the assassination of McKinley. So we're going to look at these objectives, and we're going to spend a lot of time looking at Roosevelt's idea of government, and then really spend quite a bit of time looking at his actions on natural resources. Those of you that have ever been to any national park or been to Yellowstone or any of those places, we have Teddy Roosevelt to thank for the establishment of protecting United States land, for just the idea of preserving the natural beauty. And we'll look at what Teddy Roosevelt did to ensure that. Oh, well, this is not the right one. Yay me. Let's try that again. Okay, here we go. A little better. There we go. In 1901, 43-year-old Teddy Roosevelt became the United States' youngest president. Now, those of you that ever want to correct people, because we have two really distinct things about youngest president. JFK, John F. Kennedy, is the youngest elected president. Check mark. He was. But Teddy Roosevelt is our youngest president ever, because he becomes president as a result of an assassination. So he is our youngest president ever. If you ever want to correct any of your elders who want to throw that around, you can say and throw that. But actually, he's not. It is Theodore Roosevelt. What happens to Teddy Roosevelt in between the 1901 and 1880, when he graduates from Harvard, is a lifetime and a half. He is probably one of the most fascinating presidents we have ever had in our history. He was born very sickly. He had asthma. And back in the day, there was not inhalers. For those of you that have asthma, there were no inhalers or nothing that would help your asthma. For those of you that don't have asthma and don't understand, or just think you just got to pump on an inhaler, it's a very serious disease that prohibits your breathing. And his doctor said one of the ways to combat asthma is to get physically fit. And so that's what he does. He's a smaller guy, but he decides to take up boxing, and that becomes his physical fitness and he is able not ever to really overcome his asthma, but build himself up physically to help control his disease. He goes on to Harvard. He is from a very wealthy family. He graduates from Harvard, and very shortly afterward, he is elected to the New York State Assembly. He gets married, has this lovely wife, and 3 years after they get married, both his wife and his mom die on the same day. And he falls into a very serious state of depression and decides, I'm leaving this all behind. I'm going to head out west. And that's, again, some of the things that we talked about in our previous chapters about people going out west to reinvent himself. And he goes out west and he builds a ranch. He lives in solitude. He becomes a rancher. He develops his toughness. He works through his mental illness and eventually will come back to New York and move into government again. But those events really established who he was and really made what he felt government should do for people a really big, important part of his presidency. He had a reputation for being very smart. He was very smart. He was very, very opinionated and very energetic. All of those things will be what makes him both one of our greatest presidents and one of the most annoying people if you did not like him. In 1889, he returned, earning a reputation for fighting corruption on New York City's Board of Police Commissioners. And he was making such a big splash in the government scene. The Republican Party said, we need to get rid of this guy. We need to put him someplace where he can't do any more damage. And so what he does is they put him as the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. So let's put him back over here. He's the Assistant Secretary of the Navy. When we go to war with Spain over Cuba, he resigns. He organizes his own little group of fighting men called the Rough Riders. And this is, again, the part of Teddy Roosevelt that's always interesting. He is a part of this command known as the Rough Riders, but he goes and gets a specially made suit, like a special design suit at Brooks Brothers, the height of male haute culture, to make his uniform. He returns a war hero. He returns a war hero through a battle called San Juan Hill, and he will eventually be elected the governor of New York in 1898. A long, long, long time ago, when the History Channel really used to be the History Channel, there used to be this really awesome show, and I can't remember the exact name of it, but part of it was different warriors fighting each other. Like they would take these weird warriors that would fight each other, like a ninja against a gladiator. It was Deadliest Warrior. That's it. That is an awesome show. Can you still find it anywhere, Kevin? Probably on YouTube somewhere, maybe. But yeah, if any of you like those shows, it was a fantastic show. Love this show. And they had one where it was Teddy Roosevelt against an Aztec warrior. They were awesome. I loved that show so much. And they only did maybe like 1 or 2 seasons of it and then went away. But Kevin's right. It's called Deadliest Warrior. Thank you, Kevin. So as governor, his progressive reforms upset the Republican leaders. Remember, I told you that progressives were movements, not a political party. And for Teddy Roosevelt, he was a progressive through and through. And again, a lot of that came from his own life, like overcoming a disease, the depression that he developed as a result of the deaths of his wife and mother, moving out west and taking advantage of the Homestead Act and building up a ranch. And so to get him out of New York, to get him away from these progressive ideas, they decide to make him the vice president of McKinley's presidential running in 1900. and they win very easily. He's running against William Jennings Bryan. They win. And in 1901, very, very shortly after McKinley is elected, he is assassinated. And McKinley is assassinated at a World's Fair, very much like President Garfield, someone who felt like he was owed a job. And they have to go find Teddy Roosevelt because he is out camping. He's in the Adirondacks, out in the mountains in upstate New York, camping. They have to send this message to him, and he now becomes the youngest president. As president, Roosevelt dominates Washington. He was so popular that a toy, the teddy bear, is going to be named after him. Hello? Yes. Okay. Bye-bye. That's for you, Corinne. So, what does Roosevelt do? He expands the power of the presidency and the role of government beyond that of helping big business. This will be on Canvas if you want to finish watching it. And then the assignment's already on there too. So, one of the reasons that Roosevelt usually is always at the top of the chart for presidents is the way that he changes the role of what the president does. And he begins moving that job from just looking out for big business into helping the everyday people. His Square Deal program promised fairness and honesty from the government. And he used the power of the federal government on the behalf of workers and people. And that essentially is what he is mostly known for, that he turns the office of the presidency into the office of the people and working for the people of the United States. And that becomes a significant part of his Square Deal program. And this will be one of the ones that's most important. We have talked a lot about strikes so far in this class, and almost every single time those strikes happen, the owners of those companies picked up the phone, called the government, and the government sent out troops to squash the strikers. Roosevelt gets that same call. In 1902, Roosevelt gets a call from striking coal miners as well, and Roosevelt answers the call very differently. Roosevelt says, listen, if you guys can't figure out how to come to an agreement, I am going to come and take over your coal mines and ensure that coal still produce and you will lose your money. And so this 1902 is the very first time that the federal government stepped into a labor dispute on the side of workers. And that is a significant shift of the office of the presidency. And it comes because of the value system of Teddy Roosevelt. The Department of Commerce and Labor was established to prevent capitalists from abusing their power. So today we have the Department of Labor and the Department of Commerce. They're two separate departments in the 21st century, but this will be the first time that a president has even remotely considered the workers in these disputes. And so that becomes, again, a very important part of Teddy Roosevelt's legacy. He also will do the most important thing progressives wanted was to take on railroads. Remember, our populists wanted this to happen as well. So Roosevelt took on the railroads, and he will use the court system to, again, make sure that railroads play fair. So the first one is the Elkins Act of 1903, allowed the government to fine railroads that gave special rates to favored shippers, a practice that hurt railroads. So now the government can come in, oversee what the railroads are doing, and if they do offer special rates, the government can give them a fine. The Hepburn Act empowered the ICC to enforce limits on prices charged by railroads for shipping, tolls, ferries, and pipelines. So now there is a limit on the amount of money that they can be charged. And again, this is seen as a very positive outcome for both workers, farmers, and anyone else that has to do business with the railroads. All of this, again, is in the best interest of country and everything else. He was also known as a trust buster. He used the Sherman Antitrust Act to file suits against what he saw as bad trusts, those that bullied small businesses or cheated on customers. And again, Roosevelt recognized that some trusts are good, and those would be things usually like electric companies or water companies. And he would use the Sherman Antitrust Act to bust those bad customers. And so this again, this political cartoon again is showing and always shows Teddy Roosevelt as that Rough Rider from World War I. That's his uniform. He's not a Boy Scout. Oftentimes, students want to say that's a Boy Scout uniform, and I get that it kind of sort of looks like a Boy Scout uniform, but that's his Spanish-American War uniform. And again, that hunting idea and mentality. All right, we're going to look at one more, and then we will be finished for today. Roosevelt backed progressive goals to protect consumers by making the federal government responsible for food safety. And again, this is something that Roosevelt does to help the average American. And both of these things come from the book that we read, The Jungle. So the first one is the Meat Inspection Act, provided for federal inspections and monitoring of meat plants. So any of you that do any grocery shopping or put away groceries in your family, or if you work at a grocery store and you see meat going by as you're ringing them up, if you look very closely, there is a grade given to meat. It's the USDA, United States Dairy something Administration, maybe. And they grade meat from an A to an F. A being that's the meat you want. F, I don't know who sells that meat. But that is, again, part of this Meat Inspection Act, again, as a response to what we read in The Jungle. And so next time you're in Basler's or Walmart or Save-A-Lot or anywhere where there's fresh meat in a package, take a look at that package and you'll see the stamp on there that says USDA grade A. I don't know anybody around here that doesn't sell grade A,
Yeah.
but I'm
pretty sure because in the Basers, like all the meat there's.
Yeah, I'm positive at Basler's it's all grade A. I'm positive. But I don't know about Save-A-Lot or Walmart. I don't know there. But that, again, is the Meat Inspection Act. And that certifies to the buyer of that meat that someone has looked at that meat and said it meets these requirements. The next one is the Pure Food and Drug Act, and that's eventually going to be changed into the FDA. And that, again, bans the interstate shipments of impure or mislabeled food. And that, again, is the FDA. The idea that our food is what it says it is. I don't think any of you have not, in the last gazillion years, not heard about something being recalled. Lately, it's been a lot of lettuce, like bagged lettuce that have E. coli, but that's the work of beginning Teddy Roosevelt saying food has to be guaranteed to say what it is, and we can't put things in food that we can't eat. And so, again, for that, we have Teddy Roosevelt to thank. So what you have on canvas is what we would have done in person with the stations and walked around and looked at all of them and answered those questions. It's not due until Wednesday. It is a lot of reading, and it is a lot of writing because you have to write something on every one of the readings. It's asking you the same questions. And then in the end, you're writing a short description on which one of those readings you think had the biggest impact on Teddy Roosevelt and his life. All right? Any questions about any of that? Yes.
We leave it left.
Do what?
We leave it on the board.
11:10. Yes,
Oh.
we do.
You know what, you know what, dude?
I'm sorry.
It is all about tomorrow. I have no tomorrow.